Welcome to Karl Marx Does the Washing Up,
where we ponder deep philosophical, ludicrous philosophical things to...
Where are you going with this? How have you messed this up already?
You guys get the gist.
Yeah,
right?
you've listened to too many now.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like this. So I let my mum listen to our hologram podcast, and she thought it was just total nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And I was trying to explain to her that Ilyas and I, we have a high affinity for nonsense.
Yeah, but did she think it was nonsense just because she wants you to get an arranged marriage?
Yeah, it's very much like, why are you in love with holograms? Why are you in get? Why
it doesn't matter what girl is. It's like, she's a good family, go for it. Hologram, what?
That was actually word for word her exact reaction.
Yeah, I know your mother.
What?
Spiritually, at least.
But then, do you think our podcasts are nonsense?
Yeah, hopefully in the greatest way possible.
So what is beautiful nonsense?
What is beautiful nonsense?
What is the greatest nonsense possible?
Well,
is that what we're trying to do here?
Well, I think nonsense is actually the truest form of sense. Like, if we actually want to speak something truly real, truly truthful, it has to incorporate a sense of nonsense. Because the world doesn't exist like in language. The world isn't made of words. Words are abstractions of reality. So the best way in which to actually access truth is to abstract the abstraction of reality.
But do we do that in this podcast?
Hopefully.
Do you think we do that?
Maybe one of us does.
Do you think that's what my mum meant when she said it was fuck up? Do you think that's what my mum meant when she said that your podcast is nonsense? That we're reaching this further level of truth?
Probably. But also quite likely that you should marry an Indian girl and stop pissing about with iPhones.
Well, that's what I was trying to do. That's why we're doing this podcast, so I can find a wife, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing it so that we can
find you a wife, so I don't need to hang out with you so much.
And then she can guest star on our podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the idea, just if anybody's listening, we're looking for a atemporal being with a penchant for nonsense and an affinity to consistently and regurgitatively discuss the quality of pizza toppings.
Yeah.
If any of you out there, I just leave us a message in the comments. And,
like that. Also,
we'll reach out.
Also, they have to love the sound of our own voices as much as we love the sound of our own voices.
Yeah, but no, I think we're pushing it now.
We're pushing it now. Now we're pushing it.
At least the atemporal thing was
So, I think that brings about an interesting topic. So, if someone does define this podcast as nonsense, do we take that as a compliment because of our theories about what nonsense is?
Yeah, I think this is a problem because it probably means that they just think it should be taken off the internet and that we're just diluting the intellectual content and the progression of humanity. But we just think that, for the first time somebody's understanding us and that we're actually achieving what we're trying to do.
I mean, all these years we've been trying to get people to listen to us and we finally found a medium in which people understand us.
Yeah. In that they don't. So what is it about nonsense that you love so much?
So what I love about nonsense is that I can speak it to anyone.
Can you?
I think I can.
So when you speak to your mum about nonsense, what did you say?
No, I was like, Mum, that was the point of the podcast, that it was meant to be nonsense. It was meant to be our nonsensical view on the world.
Okay. So do you think? So are you saying that basically it transcends language?
We're surely not allowed to use the word transcends. It comes up in everything that we do. You're obsessed with the idea of transcendence.
Okay, no, fine.
You're obsessed with this word.
Yeah, but it's not transcendent in the normal way. As in, it has no language barriers between different cultures, right? So, every culture can understand nonsense.
That's why, and that's why we have such an affinity for it, right? Regardless of who we meet on the street, regardless of how familiar we are with them, we can talk nonsense to them.
But is your nonsense? It's still within English that we're speaking.
I don't think it's within English. A lot of it can be mimicry or mime. Okay. Or...
So just onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
Just 21 minutes of onomatopoeia.
Do you not even think eye contact with someone on the tube could be nonsense? You could do a little eyebrow game or anything could be nonsense. You don't need language or words, I think.
Yeah, so I think that's why nonsense is so great, is because it brings into being the sensory. right? So that's why I think nonsense makes more sense. Like, if we're trying to talk about truth, or we're trying to say something true that makes real, actual sense, then it has to involve not only sense, but sense. So when we talk about nonsense, we mean sense as in logic or rationale, right? Generally. But
Generally
speaking. But I'm saying, like, we need to incorporate into that notion of sense the sensory, right? So when you start playing with language in a way that is like we're taking, we're paying kind of reverence to the aestheticism of language, regardless of the meaning within it, we're integrating the sensory into what we're saying. And so then it's a much more holistic view of reality.
And do you think that's what we do?
That's what I try to do.
In daily life?
I think you do too.
In poetry or in daily life?
So in both. Like, more like prevalently in poetry, but at least I try to like do that
in daily life.
Whenever I'm given the space to do it. I feel like when I go to meet my accountant and doing like this, I like taper it a little bit.
Yeah, because they won't understand what we're saying.
Yeah, which means they might understand it, which is fun, right?
But then we won't understand what we're saying if we're making too much sense.
Yeah, that's true. I even get like actually because my voice message for my phone is just completely ridiculous, and then I get like plumbers and lawyers and stuff calling me, and they're just like, what is this message? What is this? So the other day I was in an Uber, and he was calling me to to get me in, and I wasn't picking up on it, and he listened to my voicemail. When I got in, he's like, what is this? And then he started telling me about how the Earth is flat.
Whoa! What the hell is your voice message?
I don't know. You'll have to listen to it.
Such a tease.
Find out.
So are we just going to spend the whole podcast discussing this voice message?
No.
Then not play it.
So I don't know. What blew my mind is this Earth flat thing. So apparently this is. You told me it's a whole thing. It's
so there's like a flat Earth society. A lot of people do believe this. It's still fact, which just makes no sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it also does make I don't actually know, like, it's probably not sense, but what makes sense to me is the notion that the world is quite possibly not as we consider it now.
I agree with that sentiment, and we should make it very clear, we're not saying that the world is flat. We're not saying that. We're not saying that.
We're not saying that. We're not saying that. But just that the same ludicrousness that it was to purport that the world is round when we considered it to be flat, it's still possible that the world could be
different,
like something else, like non-geometrical, or could be just something completely bizarre that exists on a different plane that we're even aware of. Like, it could be hexagonal or some shit like this, and it could even be flat. But I think the flat thing is about like conspiracy theories and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that the whole world's lying to us.
Yeah, and the government are controlling.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So I don't know. I mean,
well, what did the Uber driver think?
Yeah, he says in the Quran it says that the Earth is flat.
It says it's in the Quran.
Yeah, but I think he sent me the passage. I didn't read it all actually, but I couldn't find
where it's actually.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was anything to do with the Earth being flat. But maybe, and I sent it to my friend Adam, and he
did he agree with that comment?
He's like, I can't find the sentence anywhere.
So do you think that he's misinterpreted it, or that we're just misinterpreting it?
Well, I don't know. I think this word misinterpreted is like it's really, everybody uses it, but it's so annoying because it's kind of like such an arrogant word to use. To misinterpret is basically like, but they're doing this because they're misinterpreting this thing. Yeah. Well, that's just assuming you're interpreting it correctly.
But that's what we assume with everything that we do.
Yeah, I think the most likely thing is we're all misinterpreting it, and the truth lies behind some rock somewhere.
That's very true. So then, do you think that you should have taken it upon yourself to educate this Uber driver?
No, because I'm not educated in that realm. Like, I haven't actually read that passage of the Quran, right?
No, so I agree with this sentiment completely, and that's why with this podcast we're just offering views. We're not.
Oh yeah, we're definitely not.
We're not trying to sway anyone's opinion on anything, right? Which is maybe why this is...
When you go to the supermarket and buy an apple because of something we said and then die from food poisoning... don't call my lawyer.
Maybe that's what my mother meant when she said this podcast is nonsense. Because we're not actually offering anything to people.
Yeah, I think it's to some degree, kind of bold thing to do in today's life, because everything's about like a USP, and we're always like, you've always got to say something or have some specific like idea. And I think there are definitely ideas that we're saying, but I think this need to say something and to say it like very like with conviction and completely is what kind of deters us from truth, and we start like maybe our motivations are different.
What are our motivations?
Well, no, I'm saying just generally in today's society, a lot of the times the motivation is USP or branding or something like that. And
whereas we have nothing. We have nothing like that.
Well, we probably do to some degree. We're just not conscious of it. We're just stupider than everybody else. That's
or maybe we're stupid
we are to the point of intelligence. We're just essentially Socratic, right?
Yeah. So, but did we know that when we started this? Or did
we know nothing, and we know that we know nothing as much as we can know anything.
That's the highest form of intelligence.
Hopefully. And yet we still ask ridiculously annoying questions to the end of knowing nothing.
Yeah, we gain nothing from it.
And we gain nothing from it.
we just know. No, we learn that we learn more that we know nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's the greatest knowledge, is to deeply, like really within the core of your being, understand your lack of knowledge. And in that find like this deep humility, and in that humility find this like abhorrence for like the universe or God or something greater than yourself. Or like you recontextualize yourself within that knowledge.
So if we have this deep humility, why do we have these huge egos?
We don't have this deep humility. Oh wait, we do.
Yeah, we.
I don't have this deep humility.
But we know that we know nothing. And we know it in our core of being, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think we've been ensconced in like an educational system that purports knowledge, right?
Especially because we've got grades and whatever, we've got university degrees and whatever.
Yeah. Okay, degrees, like what? But I think, I think like me and you, we understand the value of knowing nothing, and we doubt ourselves a lot, and we also kind of like question things. But I think there's certain like things that we just hold very deep in our being to be realities or be truth, even if like intellectually we can say, yeah, but what if? Like you think
Good
killing another man is wrong, probably. Do you?
No, I do think. Oh, it depends on the circumstances.
Yeah. So So what circumstance is it wrong in?
If there's no reason for it at all, then it's definitely wrong.
Okay, well, so then you don't know in the core of your being that you know nothing, because you actually just said that you know, or at least you believe. No, knowledge and belief is different.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of us, like, I can sort of question any form of murder as being not immoral, right? In an intellectual framework. But then at the same time, if you told me I just killed somebody, I just don't care about it. I mean, if you said you killed somebody and you don't care about it, it's just like, I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't be like, well, yes, but let's, we can contextualize murder in any sort of form. And I would just be like kind of maybe disgusted and enraged.
But I think we have no knowledge within us that can't be questioned. And
that's true. Yeah, I think so.
That's true, right? I feel like anything that I could tell you could turn it around and say, like we were saying, like with what if. And I think that's where our deep humility comes from, because we have no knowledge within us that we are so strict about, or so ardent in our belief for it.
I think that's true, but I think a lot of the time it's like we can question it on an intellectual level, and to actually break down that notion very sort of viscerally, then we'd have to drone in on that topic like a lot, because this is just like, I think, human nature. Like we've just been sort of conditioned towards certain belief structures, and they've happened in like the first 5 years of our life and stuff. They're very deeply within us,
and that's why we try, and when we rail against them, it can lead to breakdowns, it can lead to a myriad of other things, right? It can lead to ostracization or just nonsense.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you have a lot of experience with this because you've been working in a mental hospital, right?
Yeah, that's how we met, though, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if we get back to the theory of nonsense and our affinity for nonsense, why do you think that people don't have an affinity for nonsense?
Well, because I think like language